Back to Racing Across America. We're happy to be joined now by Jim Miller from Hawthorne. Good morning, Jim.
Morning, Seth. How are you today?
Very good. And for folks who are going to play Hawthorne this afternoon, what's your weather look like?
Well, so far so good. Sunny skies, temperatures only in the upper 20s, but for us, actually, that's not too bad. We do have a fast track. Everything's on the main track today, but it looks like a pretty good card and a nice Pick 5 carryover, over 18,000 that starts in the first.
Nice. And we'll take a look at some specifics for this afternoon in a moment. But before that, I wanted to go back and take a look at a couple of stakes from last Saturday, because when we had you on last week, we kind of previewed these. And I thought they were two really nice, kind of fun stakes on Saturday. First up was the Bucks Boy, mile and a 16th on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And as we talked last week, Jim, I talked a little bit about Coalport, Mike Maker, Ken and Sarah Ramsey. This is a horse that has done very well in open stakes competition, came out of a win most recently in an allowance event at Keeneland. And as we watch the stretch run here, it will be number 8, Coalport, getting it done as the 1-2 favorite. And again, this is a horse that had done well in open stakes company, absolutely logical, and lived up and validated his short price in fine fashion on Saturday.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, credit to our racing secretary, Alan Plever, for waiting the race, because you had a really good finish for that field. You had a 6-horse field. It looked like Coalport was actually going to get beat late in the lane. Very game, though, for coming back for that victory. A good, solid effort, but Coalport was tough and had to work a little bit, and I talked to Rafael Hernandez about that after the race, and he did say that he thought he was home free when he got ahead of those horses in the middle of the stretch, but the horse dug in gamely, and a good, solid effort out of Coalport.
And as you alluded to, he was the 123-pound high weight, the runner-up 116, so got 7 pounds there. So Coalport did have to work a little bit, but moving up against the State Breds gets it done on Saturday. Let's move out now on the Illini Princess a little later on the card. Again, on the turf, mile and a 16th. And the favorite in here was the Chris Block entry, and I think the betting public probably tilting more in favor of Compelling Case. Compelling Case is going to be the plain one in the replay that we watch. 7-5 favorite, will wind up running 4th, but, and we always got to watch this handicapping angle, it's Aletta winning the race at 8-1. Who's Aletta trained by? Chris Block, the longer half of the uncoupled 3-horse non-entry in there, and it happens more often than not. You just have to pay attention to that. Again, we'll watch the stretch run. Number 11, Aletta gets it done at 8-1.
Yeah, and it was a really interesting race because they kind of bunched up at the top of the stretch, and you had Io Ireland, who could show some speed as the other part of that block entry, and Compelling Case rallying late. But Aletta was the one who got clear in the lane and really just had clear sailing all the way through the stretch, and I think that was the difference maker in the end, because this horse was rolling late. Good price, too, like you mentioned, was 8-1 there and rallying in the end. But Chris Block had 3 of them in there, and Aletta was able to get a work over the Hawthorne turf prior to that race, and I think that helped make the difference as well.
Yeah, that again, you have to watch that angle. We just see it play out time and time again. And I always say, you know, the trainer knows better than anybody else what shape his horses are in. And so if he knows, you know, if he's got the 3-5 favorite and an 8-1 shot, unless he thinks the 8-1 shot is totally outclassed, they're probably not going to enter. So you always got to pay attention to that angle, and it proves out again on Saturday. All right, let's take a look at some action for today at Hawthorne. We'll kick things off taking a look at the 4th today, a B condition claimer, $4,000 tags, 3-year-olds and up. They'll go 6.5. Your thoughts on the 4th?
Well, the only reason I wanted to focus on the 4th, and normally I wouldn't focus on a race that's going to have a heavy favorite, but I think you can single in this race in the Pick 5 because you're going to have to spread in the sequence earlier. But with that $18,000 carryover, you need to find a place where you can trim things down. And the 4 August Day just looks really tough in the 4th. This one's been the most consistent of any of these. Percy Shabinsky, the trainer's had a great meet, had a couple of wins on yesterday's card. This horse has run second in each of those last couple of starts, but should get a good trip from just off the pace today. And it is cold out here, so you're probably going to have to be close to the leaders. But with the 5 Valley Fog out, you lose a little bit of pace there. Love Rain should be on or near the lead with Strong Stag, and I just think August Day gets the perfect trip in the 4th.
Timmy Thornton on board there, and so August Frog in the 4th race. Let's shift our attention now to race number 5. Another B condition claimer, but this time the tag's $25,000. These are 3-year-old fillies or older, depending on the condition. And again, this was scheduled a mile on the turf. This is off the turf today?
Yeah, off the turf. We actually got lucky. The Illini Princess will end up being our last turf race of the fall because with this cold, they're just not going to get back on the grass. So 8th race off the turf, but as of the early scratches, there's nobody out of this race. So All 10 stay in, and the horse that I think benefits with the race moving to the main track most is the 10 Fleet Performer. Comes from the barn of Steve Manley, and this horse was claimed for $15,000 last time out, and that was a really good effort. The horse won by 8 1/4, probably could have won by more, but this is a horse that's run against decent company in the past. Seems to like the Hawthorne Strip based on that last race, and you look at the remainder of the field, a lot of those are horses that seem to be better suited for the grass. You know this horse can handle the main track, and you're getting 8-1 in the morning line. I still think you'll get a decent price even with the race moving to the main track.
Yeah, this one, again, it has done well on the turf before, but you almost wonder if they weren't looking at the weather forecast and they're perfectly happy to go back to the main track.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of what it is. I'm talking to Steve Manley about it. I know that's what he was hoping for, too. And versatility-wise, this horse can get a pretty good trip because there's not a whole lot of pace to its inside, aside from Art and Natalie. Should be able to rate relatively close to the pace here, and I think that's the trip that you want for most of the horses today, and Fleet Performer should just get that perfect spot.
All right, and finally we'll look out at the 8th race today, an optional claiming event, $25,000 tags. There's a money condition for the 3-year-olds and up, going 6.5.
Yeah, and a good race here, and the horse I like again's on the outside, the 9, 4 left feet. This is a horse that was facing a lot tougher company in the past and running some respectable races. Decent record over the Hawthorne Strip, but instead of going in that optional 50 or an optional 65, they're only in for the 25 today, and the horse is in for the tag. You're making the second start out of the meet, but ran a decent race in their last start out, and that was when in for the 50, so you're coming back today in for the 25, probably going to be running at him late in the lane, but this race has more than enough pace to chase after, so I do like 4 left feet in the 8.
Yeah, and on the class relief, that 5-1 looks generous.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. I think more or less it's just because you have a barn that's not as well known as some of the others. And this is a horse, too, just with that outside draw, and Bank Account will take some action. Sansir always seems to take action, too. And then you get that block entrant of Radiant Day in there. So a horse like 4 left feet, even with the class relief, you might get a little bit of a price.
Yeah. And the name certainly may shy people away from betting, too.
Exactly.
You always wonder when you see a name like that, what were they thinking when they tossed that on there? But, all right, some good advice for today. A reminder, once again, what's the carryover in that early pick 5 that starts race 1?
Yeah, $18,739.
Nice. And that's 50-cent play?
20 cents.
Oh,
20
cents,
cent minimum.
Yeah, pick 5.
It wasn't hit yesterday. 20 cent minimum, 14% takeout. So a low takeout, a lot of extra money in there, so the payout should be great.
Nice. Very good. All right, so some action at Hawthorne today with a possible little play into a nice carryover pick 5. Jim, as always, we appreciate the visit. Good luck this afternoon, and we'll talk to you again next week.